Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 439, and today we're doing battle in a Singleton Gauntlet. And so this will be our second Singleton Gauntlet of the Heart of the Hunter season, and I was looking to throw back just a little bit to a few days ago when we played Jinx Kennen and the Runeterra Open. But as I could remember back to the previous seasons of Singleton, it was always in my head that the most common and most popular deck were always just these like really slow and grindy kind of Karma set style dirtily decks. And I did encounter some of that playing a gauntlet off on my other account, but as we really started off the day on the video that we were recording, we played against tons of aggro, and it really kind of refreshed my thoughts and abilities for aggro to be a valuable and popular deck within the Singleton format. And so the thing that you typically run into with playing aggro style decks is you just run out of high quality cards that you can come out and play. And so if you want to think back to the Jinx Kennen deck that we played at the Runeterra Open, we played 12 1-drops. We played the copies of Kennen, we played the copies of Yordle Squire, we played the copies of Zonite Urchin, and then we played Forge Chief. And so there's more cards that you can play beyond that, but you really start to deviate from what your deck is trying to do in terms of synergies, and you deviate away from just general card quality. And so that's typically my major concern as you look at a format like Singleton, is you say, okay, I want to play 12 1-drops, but am I starting to play bad ones, right? Am I really happy to have Precious Pet in a deck like this? And at the end of the day, I think we're pretty okay in terms of the card quality that we're running across the board. We do fall a little bit short in terms of some of the themes that I really like. Like, I'm not entirely certain I'm happy to be playing cards like Bilge Rascal down here at the bottom, or maybe Mecha Pulverizer is a little bit too memey. But at the end of the day, I think we have a lot of powerful concepts coming out of this, and a lot of the ideas that kind of came out of the Heart of the Huntress season that we didn't play in seasons of the past. And so at the moment right now, of course, the new cards we're going to be seeing in here are Returno Wrench. Returno Wrench only get the one copy since we are in Singleton, but that is the new amazing discard card. Kennen is a card that I can't remember anyone ever playing in discard style decks. I can't remember anyone ever playing something like Rumble Kennen and using Kennen for a kind of discard outlet. And so we've got that addition in here as well. And then the new cards in the likes of Pytos, giving us a really nice interactive style card that can either double up as a card generator that we can then discard, or giving us a good answer to some small plays. But outside of that, the numbers in here sort of closely follow what we found out of the Jinx Kennen deck. We're playing about 12 1-drops in here. We're playing about 9 or 10 burn spells. And then after that, we have a nice mix between card generators like Pharaoh's Fancier, or something like Pytos that'll put the additional cards into our hand, and then the actual discard cards themselves, the various Mecha Yordle generators or the Electro Harpoons of the world. And so this is the deck. It's tough to talk about all of it when there's 40 separate cards on the screen all at once, but hopefully the general idea has come through, and we'll be able to have a bit of success with this. But a couple of more important things. First and foremost, we do have to come out and pay the pay-to-win price, and that is going to be on, where's your name down here, Bilge Rascal. This is one I was actually considering playing Bilge Rascal in Standard, in the sense that generating these spell-shielded Mecha Yordles can be quite strong, but I think the Rascal on his own was just too weak of a card to be playing. It's like we were looking to be good in the Jinx Kennen mirror match, but then also look for some edges outside of that match. And so if you're playing against like Heimerdinger or Jace, spell shields can be quite powerful, but this guy being a 3-2 and then trading for your opponent's 1-drops was just not quite enough. If he ever gets upgraded to a 3-3, this guy's going to be the real deal. So your premium for now, maybe the intern will hear that, give him an upgrade in the future. But the other thing I noticed with our champion selection, look at this. We got a Samira skin, a Scion skin, a million Jinx skins, a Draven skin, a Kennen skin, and then poor Rumble down here just naked. This is a little bit of a bummer for him. I don't know what to say. I almost cut him right out of the deck just because he didn't have a skin. But we've got everybody else out here in premium mode, and so hopefully that's good enough. Also curious what they're going to do the next time they need to make a new Jinx skin, since there's not any more room on the screen, if they're going to make these scrolly or what they're going to do. They still can't fix it on mobile to where you have to push on the cog like 1,000 times just to get the cog to load up in the middle of a game, and then you push the support button instead of surrender. And so if we can't get that fixed and solved, who knows what we're going to have to do in the space of getting a 5th skin for Jinx. All right, though. The deck has been selected. The battles are beginning. Let's see what we can do. Got a cat meowing at me already. It's Pepper. She's sad. Her kitty tree's still in here. This is all we're going to talk about in the Singleton Gauntlets is the lack of kitty trees and kitty tree related shenanigans. But it's supposed to be here on Friday or Saturday, so it's coming up soon. We'll be getting that getting that new kitty tree for old Pepper. But all right, into battle though. We're playing against Bilgewater Freylord Noxus. This looks like it's going to be a plunder-based deck with both Gangplank Sejuani in it. I'd like our start to be a little bit more aggressive, and so I'm going to get rid of both of Jinx and Stress Testing. We'll hang on to the Zonite Urchin, but then just look for kind of a... try to get a cheaper play out here at the start. Didn't really want to have to start with Zonite Urchin. It's just, she's a fine enough one if we're trying to get out on the board. Like, I do want to... be out in front of what the opponent's doing here. If like opponent plays Omen Hawk, we really have to come in and block it. But I didn't want to make a play like this where we just discard a rando card on the first turn and don't really get any value out of it. I thought there was a chance we weren't playing Legion Rearguard in our deck. I saw the Legion Rearguard come down from opponent. I had to double check over here on the left on our deck tracker that I actually did get Legion Rearguard in here. Just a mistake I would not feel comfortable making. Oh my god, are you serious? Well, that's pretty awesome, I guess. We didn't take damage for Gangplank, am I right? Okay. Well, I hope that's recoverable. I doubt that it is, but it's so tough to come in and just play around a Singleton card. Does anybody want to take a wager on opponent also having Parlay here? Because we have to block with our Draven.
I'll do better this time. This is gonna hurt for you.
All right, that's a bummer. Counting on you to carry, Draven. Let's get some more friends on the board, though. It's like I'm like eyeballing the Yordle Squire as a way to give our Draven a point of health, but I don't know the kind of possibility that, you know, if opponent's gonna go for it, it's just sure, why not? It's like if you're playing Constructed and you're playing against Gangplank Sejuani and you take a hand like this and set it up to where you just get annihilated by Make It Rain Parlay, then you kind of set yourself up for that. But when you're in Singleton and your opponent only gets one copy of each of the cards and then they just have it, I guess it kind of is what it is. Let's see, yeah, he's at 2 of 5 on his level ups. I took the Song Spinner here as opposed to the Shock Blast. I didn't feel like we were going to get an actual good Shock Blast. Just going to be like a 6 mana removal spell removing 3 mana worth of units. Let's see, who do we want out of here? I'm leaning towards the Dunehopper Mech just to have a very expensive unit to put on the board. Right, we're going to be fine in terms of getting in front of the people on board here. And then I like having just a really big play for next turn. Like, he can hit it with Sejuani, but outside of that, it should be pretty tough for the opponent to have an answer for the mech. Decimate coming in, wow. Do what you gotta do to get up to those level ups. I don't know if that's good or that's bad, right? I mean, it's like you clearly don't have smaller plays to add to the board if you're just dropping a Decimate there, and so it's like, how trucked are we about to get by just like a Sejuani or a Gangplank or something? Doesn't strike me as awesome for us. You can Sejuani through Dunehopper mechs if you're not familiar with the interactions. Sejuani doesn't she doesn't put the little action marker on the board, and so it doesn't count as a skill for a spell shield. Now this is kind of interesting. Like, we have 5 damage of burn in hand. I think we do want to go with the tiny spear. I'm not entirely certain what they're going to do in terms of these sand soldiers, but if he has some kind of play for those, then we can still get him down to 5 and be at him with the Nox and Fervor Mystic Shot. This game should be done even after that nightmare of a start. Dune Hopper Mech just coming in saying LOL, get you for 11.
If they don't break, they'll burn.
Say LOL, fam jam.
Make the Empire proud.
So they can technically heal out of this, and so I don't want to get too aggressive on this board. I don't think we're really at risk of dying, but let's just add in Scion and then wait until things get a little bit scarier. It's just like if we try and put the 5 damage of burn on the stack and he's like, "Durr, gift of the Hearthblood," then the game's just over. So I didn't want to run into that.
Blast 'em.
Light 'em up.
Just got to prevent as much damage as we can, I guess. We don't lose Scion this way. The Dune Hopper Mech thing does eat the powerful explosion, and so we can get in front of Gangplank this way. Not really excited to be falling to 4, as we're trying to make a play off of Nox and Fervor. Having our Scion in a space to where he can die isn't super ideal, but I think we're still okay. Legion Rearguard ready to party, as usual. So, welcome, friend. Let's get you into battle. I just want to see the opponent spend some mana.
Do better this time.
Your path ends here.
Alright, he goes for a decisive maneuver. Let's just start dropping these cards now, I guess. He's only got 1 left in hand. We should... It's tough in terms of adding the Mystic Shot, right? This does open us up to the space to where he can play Hearthblood Mender and go back up in health, but it's also a bummer if we go for the Nox and Fervor and then he has a removal spell for our dude. So, oof! Good job, deck. I'm very proud of you coming back out of that nonsense at the start of the game. Oof! Good stuff. Opponent says, "Watch me open for it with a 3-for-1, and then still just get bombarded." Now, one of the things I've noticed in these gauntlets I felt's been pretty interesting is the quality of opponent has been quite high. I don't know. Yesterday I probably played like 10-ish, like a little over 10 matches in Gauntlet, and I would say 8+ of those were against High Masters opponents. Usually if the thing rolls up above like 2 minutes, I think it starts to just pair you against anyone. But that was one of my real like complaints about Gauntlet was you kind of, in terms of like getting buys and everything, you had to come out and just play all the Gauntlets every day. But the quality of opponent tended to be kind of low for the space that we are currently playing in, and it felt like, you know, just a real bummer to say like, well, I could be playing against higher quality opponents on the ladder, but I have to play these gauntlets, and it's at least worked out to where a lot of these are just the high ladder players. I don't know if it's just because of the time of day I've been playing or what, but it's certainly making itself apparent. All right, though, this starts something I'm pretty interested to be trying out in Eternal, as we have the Draven's Biggest Fan loading up our big boy Draven to the top of the deck, and then giving us access to the Returno Wrench on Draven's attack on turn 3. Very interesting and powerful stuff.
Need a second.
So, opponent's playing aggro, right? We saw this style of deck yesterday to where it's kind of like Elise Darius, but also happens to have the likes of Misfortune in it. But with this start, I wanted to get I was like, I wanted to get acorn reducing spells in our hand, and then I neglected to note that that we cycled away our only spell. Bit of a whoopsies. Heavy metal comes in. Here's a pigeon, and we're gonna be getting this Returno wrench on board next round. Time for the pool party, bro.
Dig your get up.
And Rumble Slug comes in. So I definitely want to be spinning the axe preemptively here. So let's just put the stats onto the Draven's biggest fan. Now we can get 3 attack units across the board. I just don't want to get in the middle of combat and not have access to this. It's like if he chooses to not block for whatever reason, we miss out on a bunch of damage. So this worked out kind of nicely. Interesting block on the pigeon as opposed to the Draven's biggest fan. Curious if he's just going to make it rain or what's happening with that.
Deal me in.
Steve, you forget about old Steve.
Who says I
He's eternal only. All right, so who do we got in here? I kind of like this Geode Mecha Forcer. It just letting us heal back on our Draven a little bit. Trumpet Tecker is only going to be good for like 1 unit next turn, so I'm not as amped about it. And then the Shadow Tech Walker is a good blocker, but I'd like to get these 2 units on the board next turn if we can. The Enforcer and the Mecha thing. Tough. Yeah, let your opponent know when your dude has tough. You gotta let him know.
Sultan stitches to awaken the blood within.
Picking up the big Scion here in case we want a little bit of overwhelm. Not that bad. So my initial intent was to just put the bonus stats onto Draven so he'd just be healthier in the face of removal. But I'm starting to lean more towards just boosting the Grey Physician so our stats get a little bit wider. Like, Draven just wins all of these combats as it is. One of the perks to not doing that is if we discard Spinning Axe, say, like he's gonna put a block in front with Mecha Forcer on like Twisted Fate, and then we Spinning Axe away Scion, and then the Overwhelm's gonna hit on Draven, and so I think this is still okay.
You can't do this.
And then he just no blocks the Draven to show us what a dum-dum we are. He says, yo, boss, check this. Check this. I'm staying away. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Draven having Overwhelm can't be the worst thing to have ever happened. Now he's fully healed back up, ready to survive some stuff. Got him pretty close to the lethal as well. Down to 5. Makes that Returno wrenched Draven even scarier. Interesting pickup with the Scrap Heap. I just automatically assumed we were going to add in the Twin Blade Revenant, but it's like literally every Mecha Yordle is good except the 6th cost one. Let's see what we hit. Can go Von Mech. At least get a couple of plays out of him as well. The Mourned, the Patchbot, the Tea Maker. Talk about the values. Opponent says that's too much, Bust. You GG'd me too good. Alright. On to the next one.
And maybe those other guys. Whatever.
I'm ready to get some Mecha Pulverizer Samira going. That's that's what the world was meant to be about. Interesting. I've thought about playing decks like this. Opponent playing the triple Runeterra champion, Aatrox, Kayn, Evelynn. I'm pretty interested in the sense of I was looking towards Nico and that I wanted to play. I wanted to play all of the new champions in the new format, and that seems like kind of an interesting route to take with Nico. But I got hype. I got excited about the prospects of playing with the Jinx Kennen deck, and so I had to put that on hold for a little bit. But I am a pretty big fan of Aatrox in this format. I think it's far and away one of the most powerful things you can do. Very curious why he didn't block. That seems like a very straightforward block with the cultist coming in. Just wanted to ensure he had a target for his equipment. We'll add Draven. He has to gem it now or he's just going to lose his unit. And then we can look to either like Vandal Tellstones into Electro Harpoon next turn, or we have a Samira to get a hook in. Maybe we should have just blocked Draven on the Dragonling and picked up the extra spinning axe. I was immediately worried about his longevity, but I mean the downside to playing this kind of deck is his interactivity in terms of removal spells are going to be Hate Spike, and it's going to be the 4-mana strike with an equipped unit, and so it's not like they have a ton of way to really get involved with our bros. Interesting.
Take the shot or lose the chance.
Oh, I'm looking at the Samira hook. We can spinning axe the Samira and send her into one of these units. A little more interested in taking down the Shadowblade Fanatic as opposed to the Cultist. So let's see. We want to spinning axe, discard Flame Chompers, boost Samira. Don't want to use the stress testing just yet. I don't want to have to put the fleeting onto our... I don't want to draw a fleeting card. It's kind of a waste.
This should be fun.
Watch and learn.
We'll send... If he's got like the singular cultist combat trick, the 1-mana combat trick, then fine, you did it. But I think we're in pretty good shape with this attack. Closer to leveling Samira now. It's like, as all these 1-costers start to come into hand and you got a Tellstones in hand, you know you're really close to getting her flipped or getting a rally. She needs 4, though? I don't think I'm as excited about just going for it. So... These are all going to cost 1 less. I'm just going to go with the Mecha Forcer. It's so good with all the units we have on board. We can boost Samira into a bigger hook. We can look to just take the Cultist out of combat and pick up a more damage off of the Mecha Forcer. Just so many different things we can do with these. Okay. Fallen to 7. Well, that's not very nice. Not very nice. So at this point, like, he hasn't picked up his Aatrox. He can play another... Well, he could have Aatrox in hand, sure, but he hasn't played, like, enough equipment to just naturally have Aatrox in hand. So... Not super worried about it in that sense, but I think I'm going to look to make a Harpoon play into the Cultist. This doesn't even seem that good. What are we at? 3, 5, 9, 10, 11, 13 off the Mecha Forcer? Let's just deal the damage.
Coming right up.
Right, nothing wrong with taking him to 2 when we have a Mystic Shot in here. So let's just do the aggro thing, send it to the face, and say, okay, okay, I'm done. All right, 4 to the Nugget. Should be good. Uh-oh, he's playing cards. That'll never do anything. The unending wave isn't going to fix this problem for the opponent. Hi, GG.
Damn, I'm good.
Damn, I'm good. Well done, Draven. God, I miss that guy so much. You know what we should do? What Riot should do, not us specifically. Just rotate Seraphine, rotate Karma. Just take Set out while you're at it. Just put Draven back into standard. You know how much better everything would be if you just put Draven back into standard and you took out all these stupid control cards. Sounds like a winning plan to me. Send that up the flagpole, intern. Bring Legion Rearguard back, put Draven back in. You don't have to see stupid cards like Set running around. Get rid of Sump Monument. God, it feels so good. I played Sump Monument in a game yesterday. On my side of the table, and it was just obnoxious. I can't stand that card to the greatest degree. All right. Up against Freylord, Ionia, Targon. This is most certainly a Feel the Rush ramp deck, right? With the Aurelion Soul, Tryndamere, Zoe in here. This just reeks of being a ramp deck. I would assume it's got quite a bit of early game AoE kind of stuff that we'll have to worry about, but for the most part here, we're just gonna be slamming it in and hoping for the best. And so I'm gonna start off with the Forge Chief. We can look to add Draven's Biggest Fan next turn to ensure we get Draven by 3. And then we have plenty of answers to Zoe here. She's not going to go off the rails. Oh. She's trying to go off the rails. Loading up the Darkened Spear. Not what I expected to see. Here comes Draven. Maybe he'll have something to say about it. Not really looking to win this in combat. Like, I don't want to Spinning Axe through this. I would prefer Zoe block something and then we Electro Harpoon her after combat. We'll see how it shakes out.
Danger Noodle!
Danger Noodle.
Coming through.
It's okay. This is basically a 2-mana unit coming out of the Serpent, and so I'm not super upset about what's happening here. Getting a lot of discard fodder now, though. Appreciate it, Draven. So where are we at? Got to start watching for where opponent's going to hit 12 mana. We'd really like to pop an aloof before they get right before 12, so we can keep them from playing Feel the Rush. So we're okay for the moment. Not currently worried about it. It's going to be a few more turns before we start to throw that down. Now with our hand here, and I typically want to be picking something like the Fury Horn Crasher. It survives the 2 damage AoEs, but there's also an argument to pick up the support unit. Would look to say boost the Draven's Biggest Fan. But both of them survive avalanches, they survive Blighted Ravines, they survive the Lysandra AoE. All very, very powerful plays here. More Danger Noodles. Well, I think we're going to be coming in with the aloof this turn, but let's at least lead with the Fury Horn Crasher. See if we surprise him. Just I feel like we need to get as much attack power as we can here.
Look, a thing.
Elf, that's not
Pick
ours.
up Acorn. Cool, we still got Feel the Rush. Good job. Well done, deck.
We'll bring peace to Ionia, whatever the cost.
Watch and learn.
Now Karma coming in. She's a pretty healthy blocker. I did the mathematics on that. So we can, I think we're gonna look to Electro Harpoon away Karma. And then I want to boost this Aloof Travelers down here and get the Zoe off the board. I worry that if we don't get Zoe off the board now, she's just gonna get out of hand.
Now we're cooking.
And then we'll pick up an additional discardable card off this Draven Strike into Karma, and we'll Electro Harpoon her away. Still a pretty healthy board. A little susceptible to avalanches, but manageable. Then we got 7 burn in hand. It's another deck we have to worry a little bit about heal coming out. I don't think this is a deck that's going to play Gift of the Hearthbloods, but it probably is going to play the I guess it's going to play the Ritual of Renewal. But no, I was leaning towards the Freylord 3/3 and then the Ionia 3/4 that all do the healing. Interesting here, though. Like, Keeper's Verdict is like a touch tempting in the sense that we can like Keeper's Verdict back a Tryndamere, but I don't think the game's ever going to come to that. Do we want this True Shot Barrage for the direct damage, or do we want the Hidden Pathways as just a little bit more card draw, and then we can use the card draw to hit more burn or something? I think we'd just take the True Shot Barrage for the guaranteed burn here. He Winter's Touches, so now we're safe to add the Physician. Won't discard anything. I want to hang on to all of our burn, and then we're definitely just open attacking. Get him for as much as we can. Get him for that lethal amount. Good job. GG. Victory unlocked. On to the next one. Ooh, man. Draven, right? Full party Draven, just making all those generated cards. Feels so good. Alright, next battle. So man, in the personal life, I've been trying to make it through all the Bourne movies again. whenever the wife goes out for some kind of lady day with her friends, I've been cracking through the Bourne movies, and I just watched the Bourne Legacy last night, number 4 in the series. It's the Jeremy Renner one, and I've never been like a huge fan of Jeremy Renner. Props to the dude for making a shitload of money doing what he does, but it's like I don't know. I always felt like he was kind of like a Gerard Butler kind of guy, as to where he's in all these rando action movies that I'm not going to watch, and then he occasionally does a rom-com or something, and it's like he played Hawkeye. Hawkeye's dumb. He has a bow and arrow, right? And so, but all those movies Jeremy Renner did really did a number for his bank account, and I'm sure as I'm critical of Jeremy Renner, he really fucking cares as he sleeps on a bed of $100 bills and stuff, and so. But nonetheless, I was really curious. The thing that got me wondering is, I don't know who told the story. If it was from one of the things to where Kevin Smith just like talks for an hour, or if it was in an interview or something. But apparently, when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote the script for Good Will Hunting, they put in this like weird blowjob scene in the middle of it, and then the idea was they were going to determine who actually read the script by having them call out the weird blowjob scene in it. And so apparently everyone's favorite Hollywood producer, I think he's died by now. He's certainly a massive creep fest that belonged in prison. But Harvey Weinstein, I believe, was the one that read the script and then said, guys, what's the deal with this? I love the movie, but what's the deal with this weird blowjob scene in the middle? And that was what really got their partnership started. And so where this is ultimately going is in the midst of let's go ahead and scrap these and try and find it too. In the midst of the Bourne Legacy, they keep using the phrase viral out. And it's like, so the idea is they're giving them these medications that make them super strong and super smart. And then if you want to make those medications permanent, you have to load them up with a virus, and then it does something to your DNA, whatever. You know, I'm not making this up. That's the plot of the movie. But, you know, at some point, these people had to, like, read the script and be like, you expect me to use this phrase viral out seriously, and we're gonna talk through this movie and say viral out in a serious tone. I'll tell you what, my base pays 15 million, and then I'll take an extra 1 for extra time every time I have to say it. And they're just like, okay, all right, Jeremy Renner, all right, Rachel Weisz, every time you got to say it. It's a milli straight to the bank account. And that's all I could really imagine is the way to get them to kind of come in and say this complete and utter nonsense. But it reminded me of Good Will Hunting in the sense that there's this complete nonsense right in the middle, and you gotta have a way to make the people say it. All right, what can we get away with here? I think with this spot, I'm going to look to add in Kennen. We want opponent to flare Samira, hook into smash and dash, and then we're going to just Nox and Fervor the Samira away. I think we've come about this in the right direction. He keeps spending all of his mana. That sounds wonderful to me. He's going to tap out for this Samira hook, and then we're gonna zing him. And then I just assumed that we were going to throw away Kennen, but you can probably use the Grave Physician here, right? As we did just get blown up by... as we did just get blown up by Make It Rains, we'll choose the 1 health unit as the one that we keep. Do we ever want to aloof here? I don't think we care about him playing a Gangplank this turn. We'll play aloof after combat and see if we can't maybe hit a Sejuani. This Sejuani turn's going to be next turn.
Fight or die.
You dropped something.
I dropped everything.
Forge Chief comes in. He loses out on Katarina.
Remember, we're the ones who make progress happen.
Got real close to that lethal. I mean, we got 2 Electro Harpoons. We just got to come up with 1 more point of damage after that. He just did on his own. Appreciate it. Alright, here comes the combat.
Just kill me.
Ready.
I want to kind of keep Smash and Dash around because they have the impact, right? We're not at threat of getting lethaled here. Alright, we'll focus back in on this real quick, and then we'll get back to viraling out. Get back to viraling out. So, I mean, do we want to get wider than him, or do we actually want to go this Harpoon route? Like, I kind of like this, just adding in the Bildrat Rascal. There's a large variety of Mecha Yordles we can hit that are strong. And then we could save these double Harpoons for a little later. We don't have to be immediately trying to finish this one off. He's only got 1 blocker for the round, and so I feel relatively safe. You can also just Vandal Tellstones into the spell, right? Into Heroic Refrain.
Really?
Didn't need it. So yeah, the viraling out. I had to stop and think as we just went through a pandemic. It was quite the reminder. We had some. Every time you see friends you haven't seen in a long time, it's like every story that you have has to get prefaced with in the pandemic or during the pandemic or before the pandemic, because that's just, I mean, I don't know, like that's just the way life is for people that live through it. But I was trying to think as all of the nonsense comes out with vaccines and not working and DNA and all the like. I was curious if they could have viraled out the COVID, the viral out the virus with another virus, right? And I don't know, man. I don't know. I know I tingle whenever I get next to a 5G tower, though. That's for certain. I get tingly. Nonsense. I got viraled out. Gotta have the incentive for him to say it, right? But it just strikes me as like where you need kind of a plot device, but you don't know how else to say it, and you're like, oh, I guess this is plausible. I guess this is potentially it. All right, let's see if we can take this one down. See if we can be Was Russo's third loss for the event. Just take the full takedown on our opponent here and beat him 3 times. So let's see. We'll see what we can do. The full takedown.
I have my orders.
Good start. Alright, so do we want to come in with Squeaker this round? No, never mind. It's like, he's a decent discard, but I'm more than happy to pick up Draven for next turn.
Nice to meet you. I'm Isla.
The party has arrived.
So I'm going to attack with the biggest fan, not with the pigeon. We'll find a more decent attack with the pigeon later. Right, opponent shouldn't have any real way to get the Crimson Pigeon off of the board. And so I think if we just end up trading next turn, then fine, whatever. But we can find some spots to where the pigeon gets to deal damage into Draven on the following turn, and we get much better attacks. And so I don't want to throw it away just yet. Or maybe he plays a better 2-cost unit out here or something.
Just an impression.
Maybe he gets eaten by Samira. That's a bummer. That wasn't on the that wasn't a part of the playbook for what was supposed to happen with the Crimson Pigeon.
No problem.
Kind of a bummer of a turn, man.
What you doing?
See if he's gonna start sending in those Make It Rains and those parlays again. Rumble. Like we got a real Mecha Yordle style hand here, and we can also just like pop off with this Jinx super fast. I'm in.
Let's turn up the heat.
Let's turn up the heat.
Adjustments.
So Rumble's not as, spectacular as he could be, right? He doesn't have access to the Demacia in here for the Vayne tumbles and the Cataclysms and the like, but I mean, just takes one more Mecha Yordle to really pop off with him, and the opposing deck shouldn't have too many answers for him. I guess you can combat trick up Samira at this point, but he's strong. Surprised he didn't block with the Warden.
I bring music and war.
Alright, well, he's definitely wearing us down much better this time. I don't think we're going to get to this Jinx as quick as we want, especially drawing Lost Soul. Like, it's just an impossible discard. Cheap one. Well, I mean, we did get that one really big hit in with the Dunehopper mech, but I don't think this game's going to go the same way. But, I mean, maybe it's okay in the sense that, like, we can still add Reggie this turn, but then next turn we can only add 1 card. And if it's got to be Jinx or our discardy guy or a Dunehopper mech, we want it to be the Dunehopper mech. I don't think we want the Shadow Tech Walker. The Shadow Tech Walker would only be really coming into play if we drew another 2-drop.
Engine's going cold.
Okay. Just sucks adding in these units that just get hooked in by Samira. Ooh, Pirouette was really good there. Now I'm kind of leaning towards double tap. True Shot Barrage does look quite strong on this board, but I don't feel like we're going to have time to actually cast it. So I want to take the double tap, see if we can't use it in the middle of combat next turn. Oh, Jesus. Well, he's really popped off on board, but the thing here is he's only got the one card in hand at this point, and so we're going to get popped for 7 and fall to 7, but you know, he doesn't have anything else to do. I guess we're getting popped for 8, and so he really needs to find a top deck, and so if he finds himself drawing a 1-drop next turn, we should be in tip-top shape. If he top decks really hard to where he hits like Sejuani and then a Dreadway or something, then congrats. Ooh, Kennen.
Balance in all things.
Just something to actually put on the board. Yeah, Legion Rearguard is not the not the supreme answer to this board state right here. Samira's gonna get a flip this turn and get an additional flare, but he's gonna be losing a lot of his board. Right, as soon as Samira's gonna come down and block Kennen, whoever.
Break against me.
Gotta like seeing him block everything. Alright, well, let's see if we can't dodge that Decimate. Do it for Jeremy Renner. I hope Jeremy Renner's doing okay. Again, I don't have any ill will towards the guy. Like, for all the shitty stuff that you could do in Hollywood, it seems like he's not a weirdo, right? he seems to stay out of the spotlight and keep to himself. But I know that he owns a lot of land in the middle of nowhere, and he had some kind of big, like, it looks like a bulldozer for snow or something, and it like toppled over and it almost killed him, and he had to like crawl through the snow to a phone or something. Is like a real incredible journey that he went on in terms of not dying, and he is apparently supposed to be like a 2-year recovery for all the stuff that he went through. So hope he makes it and does okay. We just did okay. Sorry, guy. Sorry we beat you 3 times in a row, but sometimes dims to breaks. So, all right, not a bad set of battles. We can pull this up and talk about it a little bit more. And so, unlock the 10 trophies. As far as the deck list goes, the one thing that I kind of noticed that I forgot to put in here was the survival skills. I would like to have 1 copy of survival skills in this deck. The cut is probably going to realistically be Mecha Pulverizer. I like the idea of some of the combos we have with Mecha Pulverizer. Like, you can put it on a Samira, you can put it on a Flame Chompers. You have a handful of like elusive units that come out of things like Acorn and come out of the Mecha Yordles, but at the end of the day, it's probably just like a little bit too expensive. If it cost like 1 mana or 2 mana, then the Pulverizer could probably do something, but I think that's like the big change here, is taking the Pulverizer out for a survival skills. And then otherwise, I'm quite happy with everything else that was going on with this deck. It never felt like we were running out of stuff to do. It felt like we always had kind of like an ample amount of spells to cast, and we weren't running into just like pure top deck mode, and we weren't running into, well, this is the only card I have in my hand, it's the only thing I can play. And so there was a lot going on to this, a lot of play, a lot of possibilities. You can certainly make a few edits or 2 across the board, but at the end of the day, I think this kind of discard core and everything going on here is pretty powerful and pretty strong, and it actually gets me really excited to try out some Draven Bandle City, some Draven Returno Wrench in this next Eternal season, and see what's up with that and see how that goes. So, good stuff. Not a bad set of games. I had fun. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hopefully, maybe learned a thing or 2 along the way and had a good time watching. So, this is Bustin'. We thank you for being here.